Be good, people, and bow to your king. You ain't my king. You ain't my king, and you definitely aren't my king. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones and Aaron. Now, before we hop into this breakdown / review of chapter 77 of 4 Nights of the Apocalypse, please be sure to leave your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. You can support for as low as $1 a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. Now, let's hop into the review. Psych, plot twist, we got a question. And by question, I mean poll. So, last week I ended up asking y'all, with Arthur just, spawning in, the final boss appearing on level 3, I wanted to know, did you believe one thing? How badly was he going to slaughter Tristan, the 4 knights, everybody there, Leonis? Like, everyone in Leonis was essentially his enemy. You saw what Meliodas did before they refused as Galland and Malaskala. They were obviously on some demon-type kind of energy, so we figured it was going to be violent, demonic, crazy. And I just wanted to know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly was he going to wash the 4 knights? How disgusting and visceral was it going to be? Even if Lance, Tristan, Percy, and Gawain all got to their max power infused, how violent did we really think this was going to be against this apocalyptic power? And with an overwhelming 59% of the vote, y'all went with slaughterhouse, bodies everywhere, 9 out of 10. And to be fair, this is what I was expecting too, right? Like, obviously, Arthur has been on something else. Like, bro doesn't like the other races. And, let's see. Tristan, a fairy, just kidding, a goddess, demon, human hybrid. That doesn't sound like a human to me. Oh, Lancelot, a fairy and human hybrid. Oh, that doesn't sound like a human to me. Oh, Gawain, infused with goddess magic. That doesn't sound like a pure human to me. Oh, Percy, possessed by some weird magic thing that I don't entirely trust and I still don't believe is 100% human. Essentially, none of the 4 knights are 100% pure, a million, trillion, quintillion % human. None of them are. So I was 100% on the train that Arthur was going to be like, wow, you're so young, so impressionable, so fodder, and just immediately annihilate all of them. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So I was definitely on that train with y'all. 9 out of 10 slaughterhouse isolated bodies everywhere. Here, there, left, right. Someone's gonna go through the castle. Then with the runner-up, we have 21% of missing a limb and no coffin. So these for the people who thought, maybe none of them are going to get, like, slaughtered. But, someone to get their arm torn off, maybe listen on a leg here or there, buried in a couple discreet places around Leonis. It happens. Like, it's not insane. They aren't all just laid out, but they're a bit laid out. I understand. I definitely understand that. Then, the runner-up at 16%, bruised and battered. Arthur, he's literally looking at 16-year-olds, and considering he's still trapped within the body of a 16-year-old despite being 32 now, he kind of understands the struggle, he understands the pain, and so he was just gonna rough him up a little bit and be like, yeah. Remember, your fodder, I am your creator, one way or another, either immediately or a few steps back, and you are nothing to me. I can definitely see that. This is 7 Deadly Sins, so violence varies a lot of the time in the manga, so I wouldn't be shocked that a good chunk of people, 16% of y'all, went with bruised and battered. Then, ironically enough, the next runner-up was 1 to 2, and not 3 to 4, with a couple cuts. Like, it'd be like they want to be like this sometimes. Arthur, once again, these are kids, and maybe Nakaba does not feel like brutalizing them too much, but then again, we did see Percy literally gets stabbed in the chest. So honestly, Nakaba, he's a wild card with that. But I can perfectly understand why people would think, like, yeah, if these guys are struggling with chaos commandments, it's not like Arthur's going to need to go all out and annihilate all of them. He may not even think of them as a threat. So that definitely makes sense. And then 3 and 4, hurt and in pain. Yeah, the bare minimum, really. Like, hopefully someone gets smacked. And overall, this poll I'm glad to see how many people were much more leaning towards the massacre, the slaughter, the insanity that Chaos Arthur really brings to the table. I think it really goes to show how well Arthur has been built up as a villain, despite not fighting anybody yet, despite his only real violent acts being towards his own men. That everyone is just like collectively, or a good chunk of all, about 80% of y'all were like, yeah, there's gonna be some splatters of life juice everywhere. I appreciate that. However, what I appreciate more is everyone who participated in this poll, and make sure you get your input in on tomorrow's poll, dropping at 12 p.m. so you are included in next week's review. Now, enough of this. Let's hop into Chapter 77. What's up, guys? Over the pencil here, and here we are to review Chapter 77 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, which is known as King's Authority. And a lot of the time I tend to ignore cover pages. Like, I used to make them all the covers for the reviews, and I was like, gotta get that clickbait up. No, I'm kidding. But I used to do that, but then I rarely comment on them. But, Nakaba, I feel like he noticed that, and it was like, you know what? We're going to make it so strange, so off-kilter, so riled, that it would be impossible for Pencil to ignore, and thusly, this is why I'm here. Question 1. Percy, why are you naked? For what reason are you slanging and hanging right now, Percy? Like, dude, how does everyone else have clothes but you? You are literally magic, bro. Just make yourself some clothes. Oh, but Pencil, I'm wearing a crown. I don't care, Percy. Put on some pants, gosh darn it. Like, why? And I'll admit, I do like the little, mini Percy energy scepter that he has going on, kingly authority. And the crown is shockingly well designed, but still, looking at it, it's like, why? So, sometimes I sit back and I ask Nakaba, what possessed you to draw that? This isn't just Nakaba. A lot of times I'll be going through a manga and I'll just sit back and be like, who hurt you? Why this of all things? Why would you draw? So why Percy naked? I don't get it. I'm just a little bit confused. Then Donnie, shockingly drippy. He looks like a mix of a court jester and a chef and saucy. I don't know. I like the pants. I like the button up. I like the puffy sleeves. I like the handkerchief tie. I like the head wrap he has. I don't know. Everything about Donnie looks shockingly saucy there. Once again, I still love the fact that all this time later, once again, it only has been a week or 2 weeks in narrative time. But the detail of Donnie's hair still missing from that arrow shot literally over a year ago at this point in our time. Hilarious. Then, Nasian's in a dress. I know a lot of people have been theorizing that Nasian's is a girl, so, I mean, you would not hear me complaining. In fact, give Anne some competition. I don't give a darn. But it's hilarious to see him, or her, I suppose, shy away from the situation. And I'm assuming they're fine with the dress itself. It's just that Percy has the cheeks out. Bro is slanging and danging all around in front of everybody. And I think my favorite person in this picture is Anne. She just doesn't even care. She just looks annoyed. She's like, why are we doing this? What is happening here? What is going on? I don't know why. I love it. She's in arguably the most simple outfit of all of them, just a black dress with gloves, but still, she's just looking on in just absolute confusion. And why? I don't know. Very interesting color page, Nakaba. Why you would do it still eludes me to this very moment. However, enough of that. Let's leave nothing hidden. Fair is fair after all, and let's hop into the chapter itself. So we open up, and we get to see something very interesting. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever actually seen a demon use 4 darkness wings. Am I tripping about that? Is there something I'm missing? I'm doing a hard mental scan. I'm trying to think of every single demon we've ever seen fly. Droll used it. But then again, hold on, let me double check that image. I know exactly which image I'm looking for. 1 second. So unless I'm mistaken, Droll is the only other demon that we've seen use more than 2 wings to fly. And it made sense in Droll's case, like he made a gigantic circular wing thing so he could fly, because, you know, Earth guy, flying isn't necessarily his forte. And the only other hypothetical example I could think of would be Esterosa, but ironically enough, actually no, I believe in that one image he did have 3 dark wings when he had 4 commandments in. Hold on, let me double check that too. Okay, so I learned 2 things. 1, the like button is free, and so is the subscribe button, so I greatly appreciate if you hit both of those because they help the channel out a lot. Thank you. And 2, there are 2, technically 3, if you want to include them as separate characters. It was 2 or 3 Commandment Mael. No, 4 Commandment Mael had 3 dark wings in his initial reveal image, and I think for the rest. Then we had Droll with his many circle wing thing, and then ironically enough, I believe 2 Commandment Esterosa also had the dark circle wing thing around him. So while it isn't necessarily the most unique, because we have seen demons use more than 2 wings, in terms of this format specifically, 4 dark wings akin to the archangels. Very, very interesting. Notably, it does make sense. I wonder if this is literally just Tristan's goddess biology being like, okay, I get it. We aren't as strong as that thick, girthy demon inside of you, but that doesn't mean you can disrespect us. And I wonder if this amps his speed. Like, are 2 wings less effective than 4 wings? Are 6 wings more speedy than 4 wings? Like, I wonder how fast he could hypothetically go. And I love how Tristan, in this image still, it's just about the business. No hesitation. He leaped up. And wait a second, hold on. Let me go back to the end of the last chapter. I want to see something. Did he have 4 wings there and I just didn't notice? Yeah, no. Okay, so in the end of the last chapter, he went up with 2 wings, and then he's coming down with 4. So I'm assuming there is some sort of speed amp there, or else he would have just kept the 2 wings since he went up with those. And I love how he's just flat-faced, stoic, like, this is my enemy. I must do everything in my power to eliminate them. And I love how Arthur immediately acknowledges it. Assumedly, he says, well, not assumedly, he does say,
"You're very different from my first impression of you. It's as if you're a bloodthirsty beast. Could it be the evil demon clan's blood in you?"
And Arthur would be one to comment on this. I'm assuming his first impression of Tristan would be what he saw through Orlandi and seeing them go up against the Chaos Commandments. And admittedly, yeah, if he was looking through the Chaos Commandments' eyes, like I assume he would, I could see that he's acknowledging the fact that, hey, wait a second, you were all bubbly goddess nice guy mode, but now it seems like you're just all for battle, all for combat. What's up there? What's the difference? Why is your first impression so different? And Arthur does strike right. And once again, this is an interesting side to the Demon Clan that you don't necessarily get to see too much. It's implied a lot in the original series. The idea that the Demon Clan is so built for battle that if they were in a state of this magnitude or this caliber, they would just go purely almost... That's a JJK spoiler, so I can't do it just yet. But there's a moment in another series, this is different from JJK, where a character is left with nothing but their base instincts. And all their base instincts tell them to is go for the strongest, the biggest threat that is in the area. It's a God of High School reference. And I'm supposing that's what Tristan's native demon biology is just meant to do. It's doing its job. It's like, oh, this is the strongest. This is my kingdom. I need to protect it. And it's cool to see how this sort of combative nature is just programmed into him just because he's half demon. I wonder if any other demons struggled with this. Notably, we don't get to see any other demons in their like youth. Like every single commandment is a few hundred years old, even Fraudrin, Melascula. I'm pretty sure all of them have some age and experience to them. All the red demons, gray demons, and other varieties, they're all just conscripted for war and battle at the moment, so you wouldn't necessarily get to see them in a situation where they are suppressing any violent urges. And even the demons we saw in Gother's little village, they were calm and placid. Like, they just didn't evoke any of these. And I wonder if this is just something that comes with time, an ability to override the basic battle instincts that are programmed into demons. Because I'm assuming, I mean, it's hypothetically, if Tristan were still in control, he'd probably still lunge for Arthur, because once again, it is his kingdom to protect, the one he's going to inherit. But I wonder if this head-on approach would be something he'd take if he was out of his... I suppose right now he is out of his gourd. He's a little bit un poco loco, but I wonder if he would have taken the same approach if he was in a goddess form or a lesser form that didn't have so much power and instinct driving him. Maybe it truly is just Demon Clan being built for battle. Doing battle is all they know, and this is what's happening. And once again, I mean, it's still cool. Like when Tristan says, "Enough prattle," like, I'll admit it's a bit metal, but man, if he just wasn't speaking, if he just, I almost Berserk Meliodas. Remember Berserk Meliodas? Way back in season 1. Not season 2 Berserk Meliodas, where he had like some control and was limiting himself, but just the flat-faced, and like, and it wasn't even the most terrifying thing about Berserk Meliodas is that he didn't necessarily have even a flat face. He just had an open mouth. He was just breathing in and out through his mouth and nose, and you could just see that there was nothing but savagery behind his actions. Tristan having some form of control does admittedly make sense. Once again, he is only half demon. Only about half of his biology is currently screaming at him to fight the strongest. But at the same time, a Tristan that was just purely silent and going to attack Arthur would be extremely metal. And one of my favorite things about this entire interaction is while Tristan is flat-faced and serious, Arthur just has a smile on his face. And reasonably, once again, it's Arthur. The literal, for lack of a better term, Lord of the Verse. Like, literally the entire thing. He's the strongest creature to creature right now, as far as we know. So, it's amazing to see a boy who, at his time, may have struggled with commandments at Tristan's age without Excalibur, now stare down a being that can casually cleave through fused alpha-level demons with nothing but a smile on his face. It's something... I get Nakaba said you do not need to read the original series in order to appreciate and enjoy Four Knights of the Apocalypse. They can act as two entirely different narratives, two entirely different standalone things, and I do get that. But I do legitimately feel bad for people who have not read Seven Deadly Sins that did hop into Four Knights of the Apocalypse. One, because a lot of narrative stuff and chapter endings just don't make sense fully without certain context. Like, I can't imagine what someone who didn't read Seven Deadly Sins thought about when we saw Hauser at the end of a chapter, or saw even Meliodas at the end of a chapter. Like, if you have no context for who that is, you're like, okay. Same thing with the old man reveal being Gother. Like, that hit us because we knew Seven Deadly Sins, but like, someone who's just new to Four Knights is like, ooh, cool, series. I wonder, like, how much does certain stuff hit for them, and I would think just generally it would hit less. And, ooh, I noticed a little mistake though. I see that, maybe it's not a mistake. I think it is a mistake though. Yeah, I think it is a mistake. He forgot to do the white in the black of the Arthur. Actually, maybe not. I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's actually intentional. Never mind. Let me shut up. However, once again, in a similar vein to Percy, who got treated like an absolute rando, Arthur, in some way, shape, or form, and there's something we see later on in the chapter that may justify this, may be the real reason behind this, but somehow, some way, Arthur just stands there, and Tristan, in Demon Mark, mind you, this Tristan is once again someone who's able to take his bare hands and scoop out a fused high-level demon. Once again, not exactly sure if they're as strong as their commandment selves. It's hard to take Galland at face value because he's Galland. So, but just let's be generous, right? Tristan with his bare hands scooped out a fusion of Molassula and Galland. On top of that, he did that with his bare hands. And we know in Seven Deadly Sins, having a weapon amps you. And considering how destructive and dangerous demonic magic is, and demonic presence and powers are, we know that if Tristan were to dive in with his darkness-infused swords, which admittedly doesn't look like he was doing, but still, him wielding a weapon at all when he could scoop out Meliodas with his bare hands means that, once again, Arthur is just in an entirely different league. And I think it's purposeful that we as a reader don't even see what happened. Like, as far as we're concerned, Arthur didn't even move a muscle. In fact, you can see both of his hands in the exact same spot that they were before. But Tristan gets knocked back, and not just knocked back a little bit, knocked back so hard that he creates an explosion of dust and dirt that goes so high, so tall, that it is actually higher than where Arthur is on his stairway from the heavens. That's how big of an explosion he did from our and Tristan's perspective, not moving. Bro didn't even flinch from what we can see. The only thing that got rustled was his cape, and he still managed to do that to Tristan. Demon Mark Tristan. That's insane. What's also insane is that the like button and subscribe button are in fact free, and I greatly appreciate if you hit both of those because they help out the channel a lot. Thank you. And I don't know, it is just, once again, Nakaba is probably one of the best at hyping up a character in order to hype up another character. Like, they will make X character so strong, so amazing, so insane, that when you finally see that character get one shot, you just go, what? Like, it has honestly the most dynamic and the most effective ways that I've seen in a manga. Like, and there are multiple examples of it throughout the manga too, the original and this one. Like, go back to Meliodas in season 1, a demon, a monster, crazy. Galen walks in, one-shots him after he gets a massive amp. What? Then Galen gets one shot by Eskin after he gets a massive amp. What? Then Assault with Meliodas one-shots him after he gets a massive amp. What? Like, and the series just goes on and on through it, and I think it's great, and we get an example of that here. Tristan, for all intents and purposes, as I can see in the comment section, which is one of the main reasons I love doing these reviews, I get to read your guys' comments and get your own live feedback as soon as these go up. And one of the main things I've been seeing a lot in the comments after Tristan's been really popping off these past couple chapters is that, yeah, Tristan, for a lot of y'all, is that guy. He's that dude. He's shown the best. He's gone all out the best. He's been doing a lot. He's been going crazy. And how do y'all feel about this now? Seeing him just get absolutely one-tapped in what I still don't think is his strongest form, ironically enough, but still, him getting one-tapped in a form that's shown to be so powerful with Arthur not even moving. It is so metal in all the right ways, and I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And then we do get to see that this massive dust explosion that happens when Tristan literally just got knocked back has everyone there. Nasians and Percy, Donnie and Gawain, even the Holy Knights just shocked and shaken. And we see that the reason everyone's so shook is because Prince Tristan is just left in a crater. I was about to say a word. Leaking life juice from his mouth with his armor, his chest plate is literally dented. Like someone simply punched him so hard in his chest that it probably caved his ribs in. And that was Arthur, casually. No effort, no stress, nothing. Bro hasn't even activated his chaos eyes yet. Once again, I'm assuming it's all in eyes in anime. And the fact that he hasn't even flickered them on yet. You know he's different. You know he's different. Lance, you better call Lance. No, I'm kidding. But the insane thing to see, right, is that we get perspective from a character who, once again, this is a good thing where it's like, if you haven't read Seven Deadly Sins and you're reading Four Knights, go read Seven Deadly Sins because it only hits so differently because we know. Hendrickson, of all people, comments, Arthur Pendragon, such pressure. Is he really the boy from back then? And we got to realize the back then that Hendrickson is referencing is probably 16, if not 17 years ago, back when Hendrickson was still evil and he met Arthur at the gates and fought him. He has had 16, if not 17 years of this image of Arthur in his head. And when it finally arrives to him, once again, he sees the boy of 16 years past. He's a monster. He's overwhelming. He's deific. And I think it's great to get a character who knew Arthur. Not anyone major, not a Sin, not one of their contemporaries, not Elizabeth. But no, Hendrickson, a person who did interact with Arthur, a person from our side who knows our main enemy now, who's simply acknowledging that a lot of time has passed and he has gotten insanely powerful within that time. I like it. I love it. It's, once again, I will forever critique Nakaba on how he sometimes leaves characters out of the narrative. The whole Holy Knights, we've had this discussion a million times. They just get useless out of the first season. But what I will always give Nakaba credit for is that every character that we see that has a name has been through something in some way that they can reference it later. And that's a lot harder to do than it initially seems. And I love the comparison. And I will admit, this did feel a little bit dumb to me when I first read it. In fact, you can check out my live reactions on the Patreon. I really appreciate that. But obviously, you don't have to support. I understand. I couldn't support a Patreon right now, so I completely understand if you can't. But even when I first read this, it was like, Travis, boy, buddy, you could not do anything as a unit to Meliodas. Meliodas, you are currently facing Arthur Pendragon, the guy, the dude who literally has your creator in his belly button. Yep. Fun fact, that's where chaos is stored. If you want to get chaos out, you gotta rip out Arthur's belly button. But, dog, what are y'all going to do? All hands attack in unison. Yes, sir. Why are y'all yes, sirring? I'm running. I'm fleeing. Like, how many of y'all, right? Say I were to give you a super strong human match. Say I were to make you Guild Thunder level, Hauser level. Are y'all staying to fight Arthur knowing who Arthur is? Are y'all staying to fight Arthur feeling who Arthur is? Because, like, if characters like Monspeet, all the demons, humans, can sense magical powers from countries away, like whole swaths of land, miles upon miles, Arthur is at best like a solid 50 feet away from them. You would feel it. Like, I'm not even exactly sure what it would be like to describe. Like, I'm assuming what it would be like if you had magic sensory abilities and were to stand near Arthur in his general vicinity. It would just be the most overwhelming and painful headache you've ever had. Or maybe it would be like being drowned underwater or like holding your breath underwater. I'm assuming it would be overwhelming because, once again, this is chaos. The Chaos King, yes, but the being who created the supreme deity and the Demon King on a whim, who created the world itself on a whim, is currently standing before you with bloodlust. Dog. He got that dog in him. He got that chaos and dog in him. I'm not fighting that. Are y'all fighting that? Are y'all really fighting that? Because it ain't gonna be me. So it does seem a little bit strange that everyone's so gung-ho about ready to fight him. And I will admit, I love how Arthur just looks on with almost, it's a smile, slightly, with, it's like, it's smug. It's a look of like, look at these poor, insignificant, and feeble creatures. They will never, ever understand where they stand compared to me. And I think it's great. I think it's super duper cool. I love everything about Arthur's presentation. Once again, I made a whole video about how I think Arthur is better than he's ever been, and I do get a lot of people do like original series Arthur. I do respect that. I like moments of him too, but just it's the whiplash. I think it's the whiplash that makes this Arthur so effective for me. It's what Hendrickson said, the happy-go-lucky boy, the child king, now stands here, a man-made deity. He's just different. And I think the way he carries himself, the way he's been executing himself, I think it just works. It works to a degree that, once again, I keep bringing it up, but you gotta have that experience of Seven Deadly Sins to truly 100% appreciate what this is. And I think that's great. I think it's great. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And we do get to see that the like button and subscribe button are indeed free. Now, I'm sorry, but in actuality, there are many blades to be. I don't know. This is a very interesting ability we see of Arthur's. I suppose this is his supposed king's authority, but behind him as he stands on the stairs, seemingly endless weapons come out of all sort of shapes and sizes. They seem to mostly be swords, but like you can kind of make out a axe, a halberd. Like there are different weapons that are just assorted amongst him. And I wonder what that means. Is this like a literal thing that's happening? Are these weapons all just spawning behind him? Or is this metaphorical and we're just supposed to be looking upon what hypothetically could be? Considering he's a reality warper, I would not be shocked if this is all just genuine. And notably, the thing that's the most interesting about this is that he does this, once again, without moving. Like, he's just standing there and all these things spawn out of him. And it makes me wonder, right? Like, chaos was a will. How mobile is a will? Like, we know he traveled throughout the stars, from stars far, far away. But, like, is this just a remnant of being, like, a sealed deity for so long? It's just like, you know, being stationary ain't too bad. I'm just gonna vibe here. And that's what has Arthur just standing here chilling. I don't know. Very interesting. However, we do get to see after this, every single being is sort of frozen in place. Dreyfus, a man who we know for his literal indomitable will, something that was strong enough to resist a demon clan's possession. Like, a high-level demon, too. As much as we clown on Fraudrin, like, dude was a monster, and Dreyfus could resist him, but Dreyfus is frozen and sweating. Pelio, someone who was trained by, most likely, Father Gother himself. Like, if there's anything he should be able to deal with, it's mental manipulation. But even he is frozen. He literally says, I can't move. And then we get to see that, seemingly, Gawain is unaffected, to the point where she's able to tug on Donnie and tell him to pull it together. Like, what's going on? Why are you just standing there? And strangely enough, Donnie responds with, don't ask the impossible. Impossible? Why could that be? And then we get to see that even Percy is locked in place alongside Gnossians. And Percy's own magic acknowledges no good. So I'm not sure, in the ever-evolving case of the people versus Percy's magic, I still don't trust it. It is still too sentient for my liking. So I wonder what it means by no good. Is it just no good that, no, we can't move, no good? Or is it no good as in, we're in trouble because the main body is now sealed in place and we cannot mass produce ourselves from him anymore? Oh no. However, Gnossian says something very interesting here. It's like I'm instinctively refusing to oppose him. This authority of Arthur's, does it give him dominion over all humans? Every last one of them, whether age or creed or ability. But if that were the case, why is Gawain free in motion? Every other being, Holy Knight, Four Knight, or retired Holy Knight, is stuck in place, unable to move, unable to resist. But Gawain is free. Now, notably, I do believe this ability just comes from Arthur's almost right to humanity as their creator. And by pure technicality, he is chaos now, so he is pretty much humanity's creator, which means he has full dominion over them. However, this does imply an interesting weakness of chaos. It cannot control what its kids made, even if its creation is only infused with something that its kid made. I'm assuming that Gawain is free to move no matter what because of sunshine being infused into her. And sunshine was initially sun, a portion of the supreme deity's power. And it seems like despite what Arthur should be clear superiority over that, he cannot override her like he can override every other human there. Percy's able to be overridden, which does make sense. Nagaba confirmed a long time ago that he is human, but I still don't trust his magic. It's very interesting. It makes me wonder, I doubt it though, because he never used it. Breath of Blast, maybe, but I don't think the Supreme Deity ever used it either. This inherent dominion over its spawn, Chaos has. Would Chaos have a similar effect on the Giant Clan? Because it created those too. I don't know. It's very interesting that Arthur is specifically able to annihilate and override the free will of humans. Pure humans, supposedly, because Gawain, an impure human through goddess power, I suppose, is immune. Very, very interesting. This ability, I wonder how we're going to discuss it cross-verse. Like, the scaler in me is like, how do we use this? Does it make it that anyone who's a human in his world or in Arthur's presence, as long as he's using this ability, are they just unable to fight him? Does he solo chainsaw it? No, I'm kidding. But it's interesting. And notably, we get to see that Arthur goes on to say this.
Prostrate before the king's authority, ye who are complicit in evil.
And interesting, the king's authority. Prostrate before the king's authority. I'm assuming this is a chaos passive, but Arthur is the chaos king. Chaos himself wasn't a king, I wouldn't say. It was a will. So I wonder if this is an ability that Arthur created himself, and or if it was just an innate ability of chaos, and why it only applies to humans, rather than any other creature, despite everything eventually ties back to chaos. But apparently not enough that it could override everything with King's authority. I'm intrigued. And it's interesting how Arthur just declares that everybody here is complicit in evil. Very interesting. However, we do get to see that all around the kingdom, there's extreme damage, right? Because the battle's been waging for a while now, and obviously Meliodas was going a bit crazy. So we see Anne admittedly being a very goated character. I like this. She's taking charge. She's taking the lead, and she's leading all these people away from danger. Everyone's asking questions. Everyone, what's going on in Leonis? Like, everyone's so worried and confused, and Anne is like, hey, let me break it down for you. A terrible enemy is after this country. I'm not from it, but their minions have tortured me in more ways than one. So you gotta trust me and leave. It's alright. The country's holy knights and my friends will definitely protect you. And, you know, Anne, definitely a character who I've constantly had mixed opinions on. They go back and forth between having literally my favorite introduction, probably out of any of the side cast that isn't Lance, because his introduction is cheating, because he technically got his introduction like chapter 1, or no, chapter 2. But still, for this moment, her taking charge in a way, being a leader naturally, and just taking all these people from a country she doesn't know, a country she's unfamiliar with, and telling them to evacuate for her own safety. And on top of that, putting faith in her friends that they will deal with it. They will take care of the problem because she knows they can. I love that. It's great to show how much trust she has built with these people over the short time they've been together. And I love it. It's nice, it's simple, it's sweet, it's to the point, and it's great. However, as people are skeptical with her, a certain man begins a broadcast.
Ladies and gentlemen of Leonis, please lend me your ears. I am Arthur Pendragon, king of the southern kingdom of Camelot, which was once destroyed in the holy war between the Demon King and the seven deadly sins.
I can see him. His voice, it's echoing straight into my head.
And now you, the people of Leonis, stand upon the same road as Camelot.
And something I do like about this, right, is once again, chaos is such an interestingly nebulous power. an interesting nebulous character at that. The abilities of it are so unexplored. So really, Nakaba's in a very rare position as a mangaka where he can just make chaos do anything. And none of us can question it because there's everything and nothing established about this power yet. There's still so much mystery behind it. And I think that freedom and flexibility is what allows for this moment to be so cool. Arthur is still walking down the stairs. He hasn't really moved from his spot. But once again, due to his connection to assumedly all humans, he is currently just speaking directly to every last one of them. To a point where some can perceive him directly, seeing him, and others hear their voice in their head. And I think it's very, very interesting. And since I saw it, I must admit, the like button is free and so is the subscribe button. But also, I do see the Cath hand again. And there still is the entire possibility that this is in fact not Arthur. And this is Arthur being manipulated by chaos itself, considering it is a will, and it did not like the other races. And or Cath, who didn't like anything and wanted to destroy it all. So I will acknowledge it. I will acknowledge that it's very likely. It's not like I don't think Nakaba has... I don't really think. I don't think Nakaba has the nerve to commit to Arthur just being fully evil of his own volition, really. Like, I wish I could say Arthur was like, he's just misunderstood. He's not really evil. But, I saw what he did to his own man when he just needed some healing. He literally sent out one of his own men to slaughter his father because reasons. Like, I don't know. I really can't. I can't defend Arthur right now, and I don't think I ever will be able to. And while I do like that, I would prefer if he was just evil. I must continuously acknowledge the fact that it could just be revealed that no, he's being controlled. And I'm still mixed about that. I'm still so mixed about it. I'll make a whole video talking about that separately. But it is still very interesting to see him broadcast himself. And I love how he instantly offers them an ultimatum. Because he, as he claims, Leonis is at a similar crossroads to Camelot.
Ruination or survival? As of now, the peace you have is only fleeting. And the history of what transpired in Britannia makes that all too clear. The Holy War 3,000 years ago, the Holy War 16 years ago, battle after bloody battle between different races, and every time we have continued to make sacrifices before other races.
Now, this is an interesting point that Arthur's making here. I will admit, because at the moment, right? I mean, you could argue maybe, but no. He, for a fact, at least should know by the fact that he exists, as Chaos Arthur, that any hostile beings that would have any sort of dominion over the other clans are literally dead and or wiped from existence in the case of the Demon King. Like, that boy ain't coming back anytime soon. And I doubt Zeldris is going to randomly start invading the human world. Mael fodder, like, we know he's weaker than pre-time skip Gila. And obviously he ain't got Sunshine right now, because Gawain has it. Maybe the Archangels would be an issue? But would they really? would the Archangels really come out and be aggressive in the first place? And two, would they really be an issue to your level of strength, Arthur? Would they really? The Giant Clan is ruled by Diane, literally the nicest person to ever nice. And the Fairy Clan is ruled by King, another one of the nicest people to ever nice. I don't... And, like, maybe I can get Zeldris. I can get Zeldris being worried about the Demon Clan invading again. Mainly because demons live relatively short lifespans in comparison to the rest of the races. The only races, well, not even races, but race that lives lower lifespans than them is humans. But in that case, even the fear of like 1,000 years passing and Zeldris passing away and a more traditional demon taking the throne, it's highly unlikely that they're going to be as powerful, that they would really pose a threat. And the reason I'm bringing this all up is because Arthur is talking in reference to the Holy War and the other Holy War, which humans couldn't take part in because they didn't have any capable warriors. But Arthur, you are now the capable warrior. There's no reason for you to fear really anybody. You can just coexist with them. And I'm going to assume you're also immortal now. So your everlasting kingdom is just that, an everlasting kingdom. You can just defend it yourself. There's no real need outside of legitimate malice to go out and slaughter every other race. And to be fair, he does have somewhat of a point that they were sacrificed first in terms of the previous holy wars, because, the goddesses used them as meat puppets. But still, I feel like that's, if anything, that's a goddess clan issue. That doesn't, at least it's a goddess clan and demon clan issue. They're the two major factions of said holy wars. I think you could leave the fairies and giants alone, Arthur, if you don't mind. I think that's reasonable. But of course, Arthur's more on a, entire race kind of thing. He's like, forget it. We either have them all or we have none of them. And he's going for none of them. And, with his level of power, he could very easily do it. And I'm excited to see how he's going to do it, whether it be through himself or others. However, we get to see that Arthur isn't just spitting in the general sense, like, oh yeah, we lost so much to them. He actually gets into specifics. He goes,
there must be some among you who lost someone dear in the holy war. Family, friends, leaving scars upon your hearts. Even after 16 years, there are wounds that still don't heal so easily.
And we see, I'm not exactly sure how much of this is natural, admittedly, because assumedly, if you can paralyze and manifest yourself to all of humanity, it's likely you have some sort of emotional influence over them too, just naturally. Like, I understand the Holy War affected a whole ton of people, but, kids are crying. Kids who don't look old enough to be alive 16 years ago. I feel like he's almost, once again, something we've been talking about ever since the Jericho situation. Is he planting things within them? Because, some of these people breaking down, I understand. A lot of the older men in these areas, these older men and older women that are, breaking down in tears, it makes sense, because they were alive. But, I don't know, this little boy and little girl, they don't look 16. They don't look like they would be around during this time period. I doubt it. They're even smaller than Percival, and Percival is extremely small. So, I feel like Arthur may, on top of using genuine truth for a lot of the older people of Leonis, is once again manipulating them. And I think it is a very interesting ability that Chaos gives him, not just dominion over humans in the general sense, they are naturally meant to obey him as per his kingly authority, but on top of that, he can just do what he wants with them, because in the end, they're nothing more than toys. For any of my creators out there, whether you make drawings, make toys, or even, really, if you play video games, you create something, a save file or something like that, you have complete dominion over it. Unless it was lent to you by someone else, I guess. You can control whether that thing is safe, whether it's destroyed. You may lose it accidentally. It'd be like that when I be like that sometimes. Trust me, I've lost my fair share of things before. But the thing that you create has no real autonomy over itself. It may have an illusion of autonomy, as in certain games. Looking at you, Undertale, who will try and trick you into saying, you ain't fully autonomous. But in reality, you control pretty much everything about it in a way that is really your dominion. You have authority over it. And thusly, due to your absolute control, you can modify it pretty much any way you please. When I draw, It's not like the drawing can say, hey, don't you add that shading to me, gosh darn it, I can just do it. So I'm assuming this is the same case with Arthur, where due to his dominion over them, his authority, he's able to sort of just edit in things, add memories, add pain, subtract pain, manipulate. I think it's very, very easy for Arthur to do that. Because, hey, if he can create entire worlds with a thought, who's to say he can't create entire memories, people, emotions? I feel like those are a lot easier to manipulate and create than, entire planets with working ecosystems, which we know he can also make. It's very interesting. But it's also very interesting that the like button is free and so the subscribe button. So please hit both of those. However, we also get to see that Arthur continues. He's essentially really burrowing into the minds and hearts of the people of Leonis. That's how he's trying to get through to them. He's not necessarily attacking them violently like he was doing earlier with Meliodas, which makes me wonder, right? Did he do that on purpose? Did he have Meliodas attack on purpose as a demon instead of Jericho attacking or any of his knights attacking in order to sort of reinstill that fresh fear of demons? Because since a lot of characters within the world can still just sense magic, it's a natural thing that most creatures can do. Feeling the demon clan again, feeling that fear again so readily, probably would make this argument all the more convincing. People just now have lost their lives and will never get them back to a demon clan member. Of course, they were screaming about how they serve Chaos Arthur, but still, it's a demon clan member. 2 of them, in fact. I think that's very, very purposeful. Of all the chaos creatures that Arthur could have revived and used, it was specifically 2 demon clan members. Interesting. But Arthur continues, of course.
The lives of those who lost will never return. You'll be tormented by the wounds carved into your hearts for the rest of your lives.
And I'm sorry, secretly, at the core of everything, as much as I appear a 7deadlysins channel, a manga and anime channel, a channel for sketching, I really am secretly a Kingdom Hearts guy at the core of my being. So when I hear carved into your hearts, it's like, Zemnis, is that you, my boy? Handsome? Xehanort? Like, I don't know, it just rings so familiar to me. It's a bell that tolls close to my own heart, if you will. And I like how Arthur, once again, it's the manipulation behind it. The manipulation through words, manipulation through probably actual mental manipulation. And it's the almost... It's like... We don't see all of his face here, really. We just see a panel of his mouth. But you can tell that this is, once again, a different character than the one we knew. And I appreciate that. And we see that due to this, due to his inherent manipulation and his speech, he's provoking reactions. Anne, who lost her mother, is reacting in shock. She's not just paralyzed, but she's genuinely thinking about what he's saying, because he has authority over her, just as he has authority over all of them. However, we do get to see that what Arthur's doing is provoking a response, and we see a whole ton of the other people of Leonis declare that, wait, I don't care about what you're trying to say. That doesn't matter. We have to keep living on while thinking about the dead. That's what we're here for. That's what we are made to do. We cannot just go back in time and fix the mistakes of the past. We must keep moving forward. And speaking of keeping moving forward, I don't know how I didn't mention this up to this point, but yes, Arthur 100% reminds me of the Paths. Like, it's out. It's out. The anime is out. So Attack on Titan, the Paths, all of the Eldians being connected. All the humans are connected to Arthur, which I like. I'm not sure. I highly doubt it's a direct reference. I don't think. Because we don't see a tree or anything like that. Though, admittedly, we do have a lot of Norse ties in 7deadlysins. But I do find it very, very interesting that we have this sort of whole past situation again. But I do like how Arthur, once again, he may be planting these himself, which may make it less interesting and less like pure mental manipulation. But regardless, I like how Arthur provoked that response as if he's having a conversation with them. He wants his creations to feel a certain way so he can tease out a response from them. And once he does get this response, the idea that, well, there's nothing we can do about it anyway, so we have to keep living, we have to keep moving forward. Arthur, the man of many worlds, says this.
But what if you could see your beloved families again? What if you could confess to your love who died before you could tell them? What if you could make your unfulfilled wishes come true?
And it's once again, it's an ability that only Arthur could have. An ability that only Arthur could perceive and make reality due to the endless depths of his power. He's essentially promising these people their own world. Just like Jericho was promised her own world. Just like Ardbeg was promised his own world. And it makes me wonder, who else was given a promise of a world? And how many people fell to Arthur for that very promise? And how many people fell of their own free will? Because we see another man fights against the authority. He says, there's no way we can. You take us for fools? You're a charlatan. All the people who feel hurt and abused by this. However, once again, Arthur is their creator. The creator of themselves, and the world that they stand on. So we see Arthur using his dominion and his abilities, says,
wrong. It certainly exists here. A land where no one suffers or grieves, a haven where none are plagued by menace or disaster. That is my Camelot.
And we see that all these individuals, all of these humans, see a world of pure splendor, where everyone they lost lives on, happy and free. And I won't lie to you, that is sick. That is sick and twisted in the best way possible. To bait them into thinking that there is nothing they can do about their fate, only to show them a fake world where everything is happy because you can, because you want them. That's evil. That's like, and y'all can see why I don't want this to be like under influence. I don't want Arthur to be secretly, like, I just like that Arthur would become this. Like, reasonably, he would make this promise, and just over years of thought and development and understanding, he would be like, yeah, this is what I gotta do. This is what I gotta do. And this is what I'm able to do with this new power of mine. Like, this is admittedly evil, right? And this is sort of like the whole Matrix situation. Like, oh, would you take a fake world where everything's fine, or would you take the real world where everything sucks? But you're, at least you know it's real. You know you're living. And we see that even the strongest of people will take a fake world. Like Jericho, if you ask me, as bond crazed as she was a very strong-willed individual. But the promise of a world where she would not be judged for who she loved, oh, it was more than enough to take her away from the real person she loved. She lives with a fake. Like, it doesn't matter if that Lancelot is genetically matching to the real one, just a few years older. That's not the real Lancelot. That's not the thing she fell in love with. Heck, Ardbeg, his baby is, or well, he is too now. But Ardbeg's child was not there anymore. It was a crisp. It was the husk that he was holding for days on end. That was it. So, with that being the case, that child that Arthur would have offered him would have been a fake. No matter how authentic Chaos can replicate all these people based off the memories of all the individuals, the likely endless data he has of the human race within his head, these are all fakes. None of this is real. None of them will ever be real. And all the damage and loss has already happened. But we're human. We would love to see those who we've lost. We would love a world of pure happiness. We would love a world that we know doesn't exist. But Arthur, being the creator of the world, can give them a world, quite literally, where all that they love exists. And this brings up an interesting conundrum. Rubbing my hands together saucily, I have to ask you all a question. One, did you know the like button is free and so the subscribe button? If you didn't, I really appreciate if you hit both of those. Thank you. And two, if you were under the king's authority, say I were to throw you into Leonis somehow, and Arthur were to offer you your own personal world where everything you ever wanted was there and true to you and your personal desires, would you take it? Or would you continue to live the life that you live now? Of course, this will be to like more modern standards. I understand, as a content creator myself, I don't think I could go without my mic and recording setup. So obviously this would be something that would accommodate to your modern standards. But would you take the offer? Would you live in that fake world with full knowledge that it is fake? Like, Jericho has no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She knows that the Lancelot in her world is not the real Lancelot. So you know that every single thing within your world is fake. It's not like the Matrix where you're under the illusion that it's all real. No, once you plug in, you know that the person that you love is not actually the person that you love. The friends you made along the way aren't actually your friends. The pet you get to see again is nothing more than a reanimation born of your memories, hopes, and dreams. Would you take it? Would you dive into a world that truly isn't your own, but it is made for you? If you want me to answer the question, I think I would need to like I would need to, I forget what, is it red pill or blue pill? I forget. I haven't watched The Matrix in forever. But I would need to like have a whole soft reset of my memories. Like, I would have to know nothing else. Like, hypothetically, we could be living in a fake world right now. But I have no idea of anything else. I don't know anything of the sort of a real world. This isn't a real world to me as far as I'm concerned. But I couldn't go in there and like have everything I ever wanted and know it's all fake. Like, I think that would haunt me for forever. Like, even if like hypothetically, like, you become mortal in this world and this world lasts forever just for you, I think the haunting knowledge of the fact that all this is fake, none of this is real, and it was all just made because I wanted it to be. I'm not sure I could really live with that mentally. But if I could get soft reset, yeah, who wouldn't want to live in a world of pure happiness? It's so weird to talk about this, and it feels like such a morally gray topic to be talking about in Knights of the Apocalypse of all things. Like, the cover page of this chapter was naked Percy. But I'm talking about, would you live in a world that is everything you ever wanted, but you know everything you ever wanted was not meant to be because it's all fake? So tell me that down below. Very, very intrigued. However, I love how Arthur manipulates them here. And I love how everyone here, due to their shared hearing and perception provided by Arthur, begins to see people that they've lost. A man begins to cry tears as he looks upon the visage of who knows. A lover, a brother, a mother, someone lost. People scream for their wives, their loves. Even Percy himself sees Varghese, happy, smiling, alive. And we see an old man who lost their child, now wondering if he truly heads to Camelot, he will see his child. And well, it's interesting. Now, this is very, very interesting. Nasian sees nothing. And I wonder if that's because in his mind, he hasn't lost anything. Like, as far as he knows, Ordo and Dolores are still alive, and Ordo and Dolores are all he has. And in that case, I wonder who else would see nothing. I think Nassin's, actually out of our group, Nassin's would be the only one who hasn't lost anybody, because Donnie lost his mom. So Donnie, while we don't see him hallucinating right now, or maybe not even hallucinating, maybe he's literally being shown his own perfect world, he would be affected. Anne would be affected because she lost her own mother. I forget at what age, but still, she remembers her mother and wants to be a holy knight because of her. So obviously, she would be seeing her. Percy sees Verghese. But Nassin's has nothing. And I wonder, for people who live in a world that they're already satisfied with, who haven't lost anybody, such as children under the age of 16, like, what do they see, if anything at all? Because it seems like Nassin just isn't seeing anything. Like, Percy is seeing his grandfather somewhere nebulously in the distance, meanwhile Nassin is just looking at Percy. So I'm intrigued. I wonder how many people of Leonis he could really get with this. I'm assuming a lot of the younger population wouldn't even get what he's talking about. Interesting. However, we get to see that Arthur smiles as he realizes that what he's doing is working. And he says this.
My goal is your salvation. Of course, I have no intention of forcing you, but I would like you to think it over. The 7 deadly sins are heroes who save the kingdom, but in the end, they are a medley of other races. It's clear that all humans, all of you, will be betrayed by them.
And, I don't know if y'all remember a little movie called Batman v Superman. This definitely feels like the Ben Affleck Bruce Wayne, like, if there's even a 1% chance, we must take it as an absolute certainty. Like, why would the 7 deadly sins betray? Like, logically, why would they? For any reason at all. There's no human, except for you, Arthur, that would be able to betray them physically. Like, I don't think anyone could really defeat any of the 7 deadly sins that's not you tier or Bond tier. But I'm not, like, what is his opinion on Bond? Like, we know he's fine with Merlin because Merlin's on his side and Merlin is human, just cheating cheating with a little bit of magic. But, like, Bond, are you just gonna take his wife and be like, deuces, Bond? It want to be like that sometimes. Like, is that how is that kind of timing he's on right now? Like, if Escanor were still alive, he isn't, but if he was, would he be mad? Would he just be like, you just stay over there? Like, I'm not sure. I wonder what his opinion is on Bond and any other human, because I'll admit, Meliodas is a demon. Like, Elizabeth is mostly human now, though. Like, she has goddess properties, but she's a human. What is his opinion on her? I know she's not one of the 7 deadly sins, admittedly, but she might as well be. Diane is a giant. King is a fairy. I can't really loophole around those. But I don't necessarily... I mean, I get why Arthur would say this. I don't think he actually genuinely believes this. I think he just wants them gone because they're likely the only threat to him. Somehow. I don't know. Once again, he's the literal creator of the verse. So I don't know how he views any of these sins as threats to him or anyone, really, when he is this powerful. But who knows? Maybe we'll see next chapter. I wonder why. But it's interesting that he's so adamant about getting rid of them because they're a medley of different races. After all they did. And I will admit, they did destroy Camelot. Fighting the Demon King. That did indeed happen. But, I don't know. I feel like they'd be a good group to keep around. Maybe keep them in check. Like, I wouldn't annihilate them personally if I was Arthur. I would like to use them. But then again, with the realization that Arthur can just revive those who have been slaughtered and or put in a much weaker state like Melascula, I'm 100% confident in the fact that he's going to slaughter the sins and then reanimate their corpses into the Chaos sins. Chaos Meliodas, Chaos Elizabeth, Chaos Bond, Chaos King, ironically enough, Chaos Harlequin, I suppose, and Chaos Diane. I believe that, 100%, and he's going to use them against the 4 knights. There's no doubt in my mind. However, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting that Arthur has gone this far, and he's asserting himself here. Like, we were joking about for a long time that Arthur doesn't like the other races. We know what that means. But no, he's 100% serious about it now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We can't skirt around it anymore. He is all for humans, by humans, for humans, of humans. On that Mugen Park type beat, legitimately. Very, very, very interesting to see him like this. And what else is interesting is the fact that the like button and subscribe button are in fact free, and the fact that someone is not just going to stand by and let Arthur talk all this smack. And we see from the dust and the dirt rises a man, and they fire a massive sparking orb of darkness at Arthur. And shockingly enough, Arthur is actually forced to block. Like, he can't do anything. He's just forced to stand there and block it with his cape. This is the first time we've actually seen him move in reaction to someone trying to attack him, and he actually needs to block it. Do I think this means Tristan at all scales to Arthur? No, because that massive dark ball was blocked with a cape. Not necessarily the most durable thing out there, and Arthur doesn't seem all too fazed by it. However, he does admit respect.
As I expected of a knight of prophecy, you didn't hesitate to attack under my king's authority.
So, this once again more so reinforces that if you are not of pure human origins, you can resist and or kind of override King's authority, because Chaos seemingly has dominion solely over humans, and only humans. Still very interested to see how he interacts with giants, considering giants are also direct creations of Chaos and are just humans but big. But seemingly enough, a person of darkness and light can resist him. And it makes me wonder, how well are other beings going to resist him in the future? Zeldris. But the thing that I love is that, and I'll admit, I'm fine with him speaking now, because we forget it. If he's not going to be like his father was, he can be his own demon. And we find that with a battered chest plate that now drops to the ground, one declares,
"That deceitful speech of yours, it makes me vomit."
And we see Tristan sparking with dark energy as he stands there in a onesie with his gloves on. And I will admit, I got so many vibes from looking at this. Like, first things first, obviously I see Meliodas, like quite literally erase the hair, the longer hair that he gets from his mother, and that's just Meliodas. Secondly, ironically enough, I see Zeldris. Like, for some reason, we never saw Zeldris dual wield, but something about the sparking blade energy and the look on his face definitely reminds me of Zeldris, I'm not gonna lie. And obviously the little bit of Elizabeth in there. I like how he really is a combination of all of his family. You can just see it there. And it's amazing to see that, even against what really are impossible odds, right? Don't know how many times I'm going to say it, but Arthur literally created the verse and created your great-grandparents. So, is Arthur... Wait a minute. Not great-grandparents. Tristan, Meliodas, and Elizabeth, the Demon King and the Supreme Deity, his grandparent. Is Arthur technically Tristan's... Oh my lord. Is Arthur technically Tristan's great-grandpa? Or does he not count? Is Arthur holding and in possession of the power of Tristan's great-grandpa? I think so. Tristan is... It's weird to think about, but Tristan really is only 4 generations down the line of Chaos. He's not that far from it. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Huh. I don't know why. It just clicked to me. However, we do get to see that Arthur, once again, feels no fear looking at this seemingly bloodlusted Tristan. He even analyzes him as like,
Alright. Still young.
And seemingly, he just releases a blast of energy. I'm not exactly sure what this thing was, where it came from, how it almost looks like an explosion magic, but I can't really tell. And seemingly Tristan, I'm not exactly sure how Tristan would have reacted to this if a person didn't step in. I'm assuming he could dodge because he is perceiving it, but maybe he wouldn't have been able to. Would make sense if he couldn't. But once again, this is an extremely casual, extremely suppressed, seemingly base Arthur. No chaos eyes, no weapon drawn, nothing. Arthur literally just casually throws this attack out by waving his hand. So assumingly this isn't the most stressful of things for him to do. But with that being the case, another casual base king is able to react. In fact, maybe they're even able to counter fully. And Arthur proceeds to have to block a massive reflection of his own attack directly in his face. And we see a certain man shows up. Well. I never thought I'd end up crossing swords with you like this. Whoa, it's you!
Your Majesty.
Majesty? That shorty? Ugh.
I'm so sorry. But that's just the conclusion I came to. For humans to achieve true peace, we must eradicate all non-human races. Meliodas, you said something to me back then. Once a man makes a vow out loud, he just can't take it back, right?
But I'm also sure I said this. Even if you lose your way, the 7 deadly sins will be with you. Arthur, I'm gonna bring you back to your senses. And the chapter ends. Meliodas shows up. And we're getting Meliodas versus Arthur. Right here, right now. I got these lookers. But okay, we have a couple things to talk about before I just wrap up. One, the enters of Meliodas, saucy as always. Full counter. I'm confident you can throw full counter anywhere, and it will always look cool. So it's great to see Meliodas. It's great to see him wielding Lost Vein. Great to see the drip. I love it. I love his kingly outfits. They're just amazing. Two, it's great to see everyone reacting to him. People who have seen him before, people who haven't. Percy having such an amazing reaction to Meliodas, and I guess really seeing for the first time how powerful he is, right? Because Meliodas just intercepted and full countered an attack that was going to do who knows what to Tristan. Amazing in Percy's eyes. Of course, seeing Dreyfus, someone who knows Meliodas all too well, is nice. It's always good to see his reaction. And I do find it funny that Donnie doesn't even know who Meliodas is, so he's just like, what do you mean? The king is that short? But then Pelio, someone who was once Peliodas, someone who deeply looked up to the king, of course is a little bit impressed and shocked and even a little bit embarrassed to see the king before him. And I love how Arthur attempts to tie it all back to the promise that they made 16 years ago. And how he tries to spin it that this is the choice that he made and he refuses to go back on his vow. And I love how Meliodas doesn't let that slide. He's like, hey, just because you have decided this doesn't mean you have not lost your way. So don't mind me, Arthur, but I'm going to drag you back to some common sense. And obviously with the battle of kings at hand, the two veteran kings finally cross swords. Ooh, it's going to get metal. Ooh, it's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy. However, I'm wondering how crazy though. Obviously, I made a video about why a certain demon king should die. I believe it's Meliodas. He needs to get up out of here. But, and this is the perfect time to do it. You know, I'm just saying. Arthur's here. The final boss is here. Why not make Meliodas' job? But, I don't know. This chapter overall, while it wasn't as action-packed as the last chapter seemingly promised us, like Arthur literally just body bagged Tristan and Tristan alone. He didn't actually attack any of the other knights. Lancelot didn't show up. Nothing too crazy happened in terms of just raw action. Everything else about this chapter makes it a 10 out of 10. from the sheer domination that Arthur has on a physical level in comparison to Tristan, and on a mental level in comparison to all the humans, the games he's playing, the worlds he's creating to manipulate all of humanity, the king's authority, everything, from the discussion to the ruination to the threats, everything in this chapter truly establishes Arthur as a monster in the best way possible, and I love it. It's so juicy, it's so great, and I'm so excited to see Meliodas and him square off. However, those are my thoughts. I think it's a solid 10 out of 10 chapter. What do you guys think? Please tell me in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, this is probably, I think this is the longest Four Knights review. Water. I've been telling y'all, milkshakes, donuts, I obviously have not been thinking healthy, so get you some water in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also I do a Patreon down below, it's for as low as $1 a month to get these exclusive videos, early content, and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.